What's going on, everybody? My name is Nick Gallagher. I've been playing Canal professionally for the past decade and I've won 6 world titles. Today, I'm going to be showing you exactly how I would do every single trick in the 2025 Battle at the Border Intermediate Tricklist if I were competing in it myself. Trick number 1, around Europe. For this trick, I personally like to start with a small cup. So I'll first pull up the small cup like this, have the Tama hole facing towards me, and then go for my first spike. For here, this is where the real tip comes in for this trick. A lot of people do this 2 ways. They either go to the next cup by earth turning it out, like so, or they simply slide the spike out like this. Either works fine, but just to minimize the chance of the string tangling or getting in your hand's way, I would recommend sliding out the spike like this. No earth turn needed. So from here, I'm going to complete the big cup spike now, and then do the same thing for the base cup. Slide the spike out from underneath. Perfect positioning right here. Once again, you're going to want to push straight up. It's going to fall very nicely onto the spike. Last thing for the base cup spike here, you want to keep your wrist very open. You don't want to invert your wrist like this. I see a lot of common beginners and intermediate players do this. They make it a lot harder for themselves by tilting their wrist in this awkward way where it's coming into their body, making it really hard to hold the base cup, and honestly just a little bit uncomfortable overall. So when you're going for the base cup spike right here, have it facing very openly, and you'll notice that this is not only a lot more comfortable to hold, but also makes the last base cup spike that much easier to do. Trick number 2, swing spike, inward earth turn. So right here, we're going to get it on the spike, do a nice swing spike to start. And from here, there's 2 different ways to do the inward earth turn. I personally like to perform it this way, where I slide the spike out from underneath. I don't really cock my wrist out towards me or anything like that to initiate power for the earth turn, like so. Actually, ever so slightly facing away from me, actually tilting it down in front of me just a little bit. So it's going to look something like this. And then I pull out from underneath, initiating the earth turn. So one more time, it's going to look like this. And then the next way to do this is actually to do it from the swing spike and then cock back the Ken and make it face towards you. So it's going to look something like this. You're going to cock it back and have the Ken facing towards you. And then you're going to perform the inward earth turn. This one is really up to you guys. Do what you're most comfortable with. Experiment with both. Really use your knees and see which one you have better success on. One turn lighthouse, trade spike. For this trick, it is very helpful to have a nice, clean, straight pull-up for the Ken in order to get the Ken perfectly on the Tama like this with the cups already facing your body. In order to do this, you want to give it a slight twist when pulling up, meaning that you're going to hold the cups facing towards your body. Once you release and initiate the pull-up for the one-turn lighthouse, you're going to want to give a very slight twist on the Ken. So for example, mine is going to look like so. You'll notice here that I'm letting go, but at the same time twisting it in a way where it comes up sideways. You'll notice that if I try to pull up the lighthouse with the cups facing out to the side, it'll look something like this, which isn't necessarily bad, but when it ends in this position, it makes it a lot harder for me to get to the end. If the Ken lands on the lighthouse like this, I have to adjust my position to get to the optimal position for the trade spike. And this is going to take a lot of extra effort and it's going to likely be very difficult for some of you to do on stage. So once you've gotten the lighthouse twist down, you can get consistent one-turn lighthouses very clean like this. The last part is the trade spike. And for trade spikes during competition, I emphasize having all fingers on the Tama. Every single one, your thumb, index, middle, ring, and pinky. I personally think that having more contact with the Tama helps keep more control over the trade spike in the direction you move the ball. So before you go for the trade spike, make sure just all 5 fingers are touching the Tama and then you're good to go. From here, simply just pull towards yourself, grab the Ken, and go for the spike. The Tama, if you are very gentle and easy with it, it should just come dropping down towards you. Think of pulling towards yourself once again. You should get very consistent with this. Trick number 4, big cup, juggle, big cup, spike. This trick is one of the more difficult ones on this list. If you currently cannot juggle, I would recommend practicing on something that is not a kendama. I would recommend practicing using either juggling balls, oranges, a couple pairs of socks, tennis balls, even something like 2 Tamas. You essentially just want to juggle 2 objects that are of the same shape and the same weight, and something that is not connected by a string. Once you get the hang of juggling side to side with whatever objects you are using, you can then go back to a kendama and start practicing this trick for VATB. The main thing I want to keep in mind for this trick is to have the string not mess me up while I'm juggling, and the best way I can prevent that is by having the tama face either towards the outside or face towards me. So you're going to want to get the tama in this area right here with the string, as you can see, facing away from me. If the tama is facing the other way and the string is on the other side, for example, it's going to be very hard to juggle because the string is going to be all wrapped around your hand. It's going to get tangled. It's probably going to mess you up. So get right here, practice the juggle. This is going to be very difficult, but once you get this down, once you master the single juggle big cup, all we have to do now is go for the spike. Now, ideally, the tama hole is going to be facing straight towards you, making for an easy big cup spike. But chances are, currently at your skill level, being an intermediate, you're not going to have hole control super down yet with your juggles, and that's totally okay. How I would best prepare for the tama not facing in the perfect direction you want it to is to practice big cup spikes from awkward positions. Whether it's facing straight down, out to the side like this, facing away from you like so. Pretty much any area that is not facing straight towards you and that is not perfect. Get used to adapting and doing big cup spike from difficult areas and you're going to be just fine. Last thing that I want to make sure you guys know is that you can juggle to big cup, catch it awkwardly, maybe like this, but then still have time to readjust to the positioning of your hand before you go for the spike. Some of you may not want to do that and go just straight for the spike no matter what grip you catch it in, but for others who catch it very awkwardly and think the spike is very difficult, you can just take a deep breath, slowly but surely, very carefully adjust your hand back to a normal kangaroo position like this, and then complete the big up spike from there. Trick number 5, airplane jumping stick. This one is pretty self-explanatory. You're going to just want to perform a single J stick and get it back into the hole. For this level, I know that intermediate players can already all do airplane very consistently. So for the jumping stick, all you want to do is make sure the cups are facing towards you. The cool thing about this is even if you catch the airplane in a way where the cups are facing out to the side, maybe it's not perfect, maybe the string hole on this Ken right here is on your hand, like so, you can simply adjust your grip very easily because we're holding it in this grip, because we have a hold of the tama. So before you go for the jumping stick, make sure to get the optimal positioning, the optimal direction of your Ken, which is string hole right here facing away from your dominant hand, and the cups facing towards you. From here, it's going to be a lot of trial and error, a lot of practice to be able to see this flip very consistently, but it's all in the flick of the wrist. It's all going to happen with just this slight motion, and of course, with the help of your knees. So make sure to use your knees, come down, come up with the jumping stick, follow it with your whole body, and you're likely going to get this very, very consistent pretty quickly. Trick number 6, down spike. Down spike can be done in 2 ways. Number 1, you can swing it out in front of you like this. Swing in front, pull up, and go for the down spike like so. Or option number 2, which is my preferred way, is pulling it up inwards toward your body and down spiking like this. I recommend this way because it's a lot easier to see the course of direction of the tama because you can see the tama hole facing right up in front of you. This is of course going to require a slight push from your hand out in front. It's going to look something like this while you're pulling up the tama. And then of course, with the help of your knees, this is going to help you see in slow motion, see the tama come up very gently, very nicely, so you can go for a clean down spike. Try to down spike when the tama hole is facing straight up, and then follow through, tilting your wrist, cocking the spike upwards, so it doesn't fall out after you actually spike it. Personally, for this trick, in order to prevent it from falling out after I spike, I don't down spike across my body. I don't down spike behind my back like this. I just go straight towards my stomach, straight towards my own body, right directly into it. And this helps the tama stay in every single time. Trick number 7, lunar in. The toughest part about this trick is getting the Ken to spin perfectly up so you can actually land it on the side of the big cup. Because if you try to land the lunar without twisting the Ken on the way up, it's going to look something like this. It's going to be pretty much impossible. I personally like to hold it up by the cup with my opposite hand here. I know this isn't really common, but this is just how I do it. I give it a nice little twist, very, very slightly. It's so subtle that it's almost unnoticeable, but as I release, I give it a little push. I'm pushing it inwards towards me. I'm pushing it the way so where the big cup comes up onto the tama. You can hold it like this. You can, of course, hold it with a normal Ken grip. You can spin it either way. it doesn't really matter. The tech for getting consistent lunars, I don't think is going to be much of a problem for a lot of you. The main problem is going to be the final spike. And I think this part gets a lot simpler if you simply just emphasize the use of your knees. Come all the way down like this. Get low. Don't be afraid to get low to the ground. Go through your fullest range of motion you possibly can. Come up with your knees again. And you're going to be seeing that spike in slow motion. I normally lunar on top of the hole. I don't pull up the lunar with the tama to the side or anything like that. I find that that makes it more difficult to spike. So I lunar on top of the hole, just like right here. And then for the spike, I concentrate, go down with my knees, come up, and then go to in. Trick number 8, bird spike. For birds, especially in competition, I have a specific way of holding the Ken. A lot of people hold it like this, normal Ken grip, and that's perfectly fine. But I personally like to insert my thumb into the cup that's facing towards me because I think this gives me more stability with not only the bird, but the spike as well. So it looks something like this. I'll have my thumb inserted towards the cup facing me. Just like a normal dry spike, it's the same technique. Keep the Ken facing up, pull up the ball in a way where it's very gentle and it doesn't waver when it's coming up. But the most important part is, guys, catching this at the highest point, meaning it doesn't come crashing down on the cup. You're catching it when it hits its peak. You have to essentially meet it there. And this might seem difficult at first, but use your knees and you'll be just fine. I promise you, the knees, especially for this trick, is a cheat code. A lot of people are going to be shaking on stage, get nervous, and not be able to execute the bird or even the spike part of this trick. But keeping your movements calm, collected, staying calm in practice is going to help you a ton up there when you're getting points against other people on the stage. So hold it with your thumb like this. Use your knees, come up, meet it at the highest point. And then from right here, don't panic. Breathe again, controlled, use your knees, come down, and just drop it in to the spike. Now, of course, you can not only drop it in, but you can also flip in, do a little earth turn to spike. Pick which one is best for you and just stick with it until the competition. Trick number 9, stunt plane. Stunt plane, there are 2 ways I'd recommend doing this trick. One is with the tama facing straight down from the get-go. You're going to want to pull the Ken straight up, just like a lighthouse, and then follow through, just like we did with a down spike, straight into your body. If I hold it like this, I like to keep my index finger on top of this small string hole in the tama. It just makes me feel a lot more confident with the trick itself. So one more time, I'm going to pull straight up, catch it at its highest point, and follow through towards my body. This is the stunt plane. Another way people can do it is you actually hold the tama like this, and then during the trick, after you pull it up, you adjust your grip, turn your hand down like so, and perform the stunt plane. Just for a regular stunt plane, I personally would recommend holding like this. This is the most comfortable for me, but find which of the 2 ways is most comfortable for you and use that for the competition. Having it facing straight down from the get-go is the most comfortable for me, but try out both of these ways, use what's best for you, and commit to it for the competition. Trick number 10, swing spike, whirlwind. Swing spike is very simple, but the real part of this trick is, of course, the whirlwind. I would recommend practicing the whirlwind on a kanama that has a relatively long spike, something that is not very short, because if it's too short, it's going to slip out a lot, and the tama rotation is not going to be that nice. It's not going to be very consistent. It is important to keep in mind, guys, that whirlwind is not something you do all in one go. It has 3 separate parts. First, you initiate the earth turn. 1, second, you flip the Ken. 2, and 3, you catch it onto the spike. People usually tend to do this trick when they first start all at once. The tama not doing a proper earth turn, not properly catching the Ken, and having almost no chance at actually spiking the entire trick. So break it down one by one and really remember these steps when you're performing the trick. 1, 2, 3. I'll do it one more time for you guys. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Make it as separate and as slow as possible. For the Ken flip, the hardest part, you're going to be wanting to use your thumb to generate the force to push the Ken flip. I tend to hold my hand down here by the base cup when I do a whirlwind, so it's easy for me to flip. It's just like a normal Ken flip. From here, guys, it's just going to take a lot of practice. This is one of the most difficult tricks to learn when you're first starting. So good luck and get this one consistent, because if you're able to, you're guaranteed to take a point against your opponents at BATB. And then something small I want to say is that when you're doing the swing spike, you don't have to start in whirlwind grip. This makes the swing spike a lot harder. I've seen a lot of people miss a swing spike because they're holding it in a grip that is very loose and not very stable, which is, for example, like this, the whirlwind position. So properly hold the Ken and Ken grip like this when you perform the swing spike, get it on the spike, and then from here, adjust your grip to the whirlwind. It's super safe. You're going to have both optimal grips for both parts of the trick. It's going to save you a lot of trouble.